President, honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen, and crumblies. If you don't know what a crumbly is, I'm not going to tell you. Now, you are wondering why I'm here, because I know when my name was announced, the majority of you said they're scraping the bottom of the barrel, they've got that down line in there. Well, the reason that I'm inflicted upon you is simple. Next year marks the 50th anniversary of the first of you guys coming to the UK back in 1942. And your board think that in the intervening half-century, you've got a little bit on the soft side. So they're going to remind you next year of those days when you've never had it so good. And what they're going to do is they're going to try and recreate a typical English camp here in the US of A. Well, the first thing, of course, is to find a suitable location with the right weather, because in spite of the fact that we've had 3 droughts in a row in England, you think of England as rain, rain, smog, snow, rain, rain, fog, smoke, etc., etc. And finally, they found a place up in the northwest, you may have heard of it. Not quite like England, but getting that way, it's called Twin Peaks. Well, ladies, you don't have to worry, because you're going to be put into the Great Northern Hotel, and perhaps Agent Cooper will be there to keep an eye on you. But the rest of you fellas, well, they're going to bulldoze the site of a burned down sawmill, and they're going to erect a Nissen hut camp. Now, sadly, the British firm that built the corrugated steel roof Nissen huts has been bought out by the Germans and is now making corrugated plastic cups for the drinks cabinet in Mercedes. And it's all serious stuff, you know. But your board have been able, with great expense and trouble, to get the services of a hockey building company of Tokyo, Japan, who are going to provide absolute replicas of the old Nissen hut. In fact, they're so good that they have the latest additions to ensure the right environment. For example, they will have a condensation machine, they will have an air machine, wind machine, to ensure that there's one hell of a draft from one end to the other all the time. And refrigeration to ensure that the right temperature, cold and extra cold. And of course the condensation machine will ensure that there's always drips off the roof. You remember when you wanted to get dry, you went outside the darn hut rather than stay inside. No wonder you spelled Nissen with a P. But I'm sad to tell you that the British firm that made the pot-bellied stove has been bought out by the Germans and is now making pot-bellied saffron jugs. But your board, with great trouble and expense, have enlisted the services of the... Of course I'm being serious. Of the yucky-fucking, I'll say that again, I don't like saying, the yucky-fucking heating company out of Tokyo, Japan, who are providing exact replicas of the pot-bellied stove built to the same specifications, and they are guaranteed, like the original, for you to stand there and stoke them all night and not get a bit of heat out of it. Well, I'm pleased to tell you that the Evolutions buildings will be decided in the most inconvenient place and surrounded by a layer of 2 feet of mud. It will have cold, extra cold running water, and boy are you going to have fun getting there in the middle of the night. Particularly if there's going to be a blackout. Now some of you are asking what's a blackout. Surely you remember the fun you had in blackout? I'll give you an example. Heard in a blackout, voice of an English girl. Yank, that is not your bicycle flashlight you've just got hold of. It's part of me and I'm not getting switched on. officer, flight surgeon, because he feels that after 50 years you need a bit of looking over. So you'll parade at 4:30 p.m. in your birthday suits. Don't worry about the roster won't hurt you. Now, what does concern me is that when you're standing there in your birthday suits, some of you may care to look down and suddenly see you can't see your feet. But don't panic, they're still there and so is everything else. It's just that over the years your chest has slipped and spread out and spoiled the view. It's known as the 70s sag. And some of you, I know some of you will say, you've got the same condition and you're not yet 70. You just matured early. Aren't you the lucky ones? Now, the flight surgeon has promised to spare you the indignity of asking you to cough. Not that I think many of you have got a good cough left in you. After he has finished with you, there will be a little physical training exercises. Some of you may be a bit hard of hearing and you may not hear the instructors, so just watch what the guy next door is doing, because he hasn't got the help that you're doing anyway. Now, after you finish, there's going to be a brief run out into the countryside. So you'll have to get your running gear on. Now, the board realizes that you're not as young as you were, so on the first day, it's going to be a mile trot. On the second day, well, 3 miles, I believe. And on the final day, they're going to take you out for a 5-mile run. Now, don't be concerned, because the good news is that the mortuary service is free. Now, the food. You remember the gorgeous food you had. Well, we're not going to disappoint you. Many of SOS, same old stuff or something like that. And of course, there will be variety. I'll read you a menu. Breakfast will be spam fritters with powdered egg and dehydrated potatoes. Lunch will be powdered egg omelets with spam and dehydrated potatoes. And dinner will be dehydrated potato hash with spam and powdered egg. But with all meals, there will be that supreme delicacy, that culinary masterpiece which you've missed so long, the Brussels sprouts. There's a woman over there just asked her husband what a Brussels sprout is. It is not a Belgian new pet. A Brussels sprout is the flatulence what a match is to a can of gasoline. And of course, all this will be washed down with good old English beer. Well, unfortunately, all the English brewers have been bought up by the Germans and now make lager. But your board, at great expense, has been able to enlist the services of a sucky brewing company of the old Japan, who have produced good old English beer, the same specification, just as you remember it. HH standard, honorable. Now, there will be a few camp regulations, just a few, and couched in the usual simple army terms that you remember. I will just read you one. I say there weren't many. This is number 768. It goes as follows. Any WO, NCO, or EM going AWOL with an HES, WAAF, or WLA will be reported by the CQ to the SQ of the HQ, who will notify the CG of the DP of the AD. When apprehended by an MP, the GI, in compliance with the TO, will give his ASN, be reduced to a PFC and ODs, deny DNIF, R&R, and the PX and the ARC, and unless the FS finds him 4S and US, he will be shipped on an LST from the ETO to the MTO CPI or POA, not ZI. activities to keep you happy while you're at the camp. Digging the tree ditches and filling them in again the next day. Painting white lines down the middle of the road and then painting them out the next day. And of course there will be standing in line where you will be able to cuss the CO and the cooks. But to be fair, there will also be a line to CO and cooks where they can cuss you. Now, you will be allowed all base. You will be allowed all base into the surrounding countryside, and just to make things more realistic, they're going to bring over a bevy of pretty English girls. Now, we realise, or the board does, that you're not quite as good or your teeth as you used to be, not quite so much puff. So once again, they've gone to those little Japanese fellows. You thought you were running there anymore, didn't you? And each of you will be provided with something like this, and when you see the pretty girl, all you have to do is wonders of modern technology. Now, the chances are that the girls will simply respond by saying, "Get lost, Grandad." But if they whistle back, "Boy, you're in trouble." Finally, there will be plenty of souvenirs for you to take home, such as pneumonia, dysentery. Enough of this food. Of course, next year's convention will be just as grand as this. But if you want to come back to England, then next year is the best time to do it, because the Brits have really put on a show for you. They have made 1992 the 50th anniversary of the first coming of the GIs to the UK as the US AAF celebration year. There are 150 different events, ranging from village fetes to Glenn Miller-type shows to air shows, you name it. And they even hope to fly the Stars and Stripes from every airfield village church on the 4th of July. It has royal patronage. It is your year. The Brits salute to you boys of World War II in the air. Now, I know several people are coming back. And one particular gentleman said to me, "Well, we'll be back there next year, but you know, we're getting too old to come back anymore." Too old to come back. Too old, never. Too old, the men who formed one of the most famous air forces in history, the Air Force that had the largest air striking force in history, the Air Force that gained more decorations for bravery and gave more lives than any other comparable service in the US military, the Air Force that was never turned back by the enemy is going to be turned back by old age. Never. You'll come back. You may be citizens of the United States, and you may have only spent a few days, and at most a few years, in England long, long ago in the Second World War. But there is a part of your youth that is forever to be found in the chill of an English morning, in the whirl of the mists across the airfields, to be found in a sunbeam that breaks through the overcast and scuds across the English meadows, or is pinned to a contrail in the endless blue. Because in England, you were an entity, the 8th Air Force. Yes, you'll come back until there isn't any of you left to come back. And my countrymen don't have to ask what manner of men are these, for they know that you have not forgotten the cause. You have not deserted those who you left behind all those years ago. And above all, they know that you are the spirit that made the legend of the mighty 8th.